The October 23rd, 2018 meeting of the Intergovernmental Relations Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Brew. Here. Chairman Hebert.
Here.
Ms. Cayley. Here. Mr. Rocco. Here. Mr. Wilcox.
Here. Is there anyone signed up for the public forum?
There is not.
Seeing no one in the room, I won't ask the next question. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. You have before you the September 17th, 2018 minutes. They stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of the day. The next item on the agenda is new business. Mr. Clerk.
Referral 18-0283, authorized an intermunicipal agreement.
Moved by Legislator Brew, seconded by Legislator Rockow. Is there any discussion? Legislator Cayley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the administration. In both this one and the next one, the referrals, the agreements refer to any development of applications following the exchange of the information between Monroe County and any municipality. And the one we're working on, it is Greece. And my question is, with relationship to an exchange for the data, Town of Greece or any muni corporation would agree to share any applications it develops with the county at no cost. If, in fact, Greece or anyone in this point developed the application and when would a notification need to come to Monroe County for it to be kosher, for lack of a better word?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, that's a good question, and I would anticipate that we would be informed, and I will double check on this upon the development of final code for the application.
Thank you. And then taking that one step farther, does this address, because I'm not sure with how it's worded through the chair, Monroe County creating sharing of this an application if it were important enough to share? And would there be no cost? Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the IMA agreement is a $0 agreement between the parties that in the county would receive essentially compensation for the exchange of the data by the municipality providing to us any application that it developed from it. It does not flow the other way.
Thank you. And then lastly, through the chair, if in the receipt of this and the development of an application, does this agreement bar, once the application's been shared, bar the other municipality from creating a revenue stream?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, we're going to have to research that a little more. I would just want to clarify the question, too. Are you asking what would be the municipalities, what would go on if the municipality tried to monetize the application and then sold the end product that they were developing out of it?
Through the chair, sort of, because it could go both ways, depending on how the municipality developed the application. It could be a development of an outside company. And if there was a development with an outside company, are we also putting restrictions on any contract that they would have with a developer? And quite frankly, I have no idea what kind of application might result in this, but these were the kinds of questions that came to mind, because it's a pretty simplistic handshake agreement here, but yet 2 or 3 levels down the road, it could become problematic. That's why I'm asking. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, we're looking up under general municipal law that would prevent the county and towns, villages, and the city from essentially going into an agreement with a private entity to monetize this. What I'm thinking, and sort of with the nature of your question, is that doesn't necessarily prevent them developing the code and the application in-house, but on one side they could potentially do that, I suppose, and charge a fee for the output, but they would be providing us the application as well, and we could in turn just provide the output without charging the fee too. So I'm not too sure exactly what benefit that they would derive from that. We wouldn't be prohibited from turning around and putting the application online and then providing that same product to residents and those interested parties for free, even though, say, the municipality was charging $10 for a map or whatever would be the resulting product that they would develop out of this information.
Thank you. And then through the chair, so is there still researching this going on?
Well,
or have you just answered my question?
Well, one part of it would be that they cannot go into an agreement with a private entity to essentially go into a business with that entity to sit there and create this product and derive a revenue stream in that fashion. With regards to them going out and potentially developing the code and then selling it and essentially offering it up on their website. Say, for instance, if you went to real property here and you wanted to secure a certified map or something along those lines that we would charge a fee for, that's what we're going to research, and we'll get back to you in writing with regards to that. But again, I would point out that they would be providing us with the application, and we would be able to use, it's our data, we would be able to use the same data running through that application and effectively offer that product for free if we chose to do so. So I'm not too sure exactly where you are with regards to monetizing it, if that's the case.
Thank you. And then through the chair, I realize it's vague and it's not quite as far-fetched as it may seem, but in the regular business world, there are private companies that sell software packages that they say are proprietary. So say the company that's purchased it would not have the ability to data mine within their own data that is there. And so I look at the 911 and what these 2 referrals are speaking to, and say that a company could come in, write code for this, and as a result of doing this, go out in another area and say, well, if you want to find this, we can develop it this way. It's far-fetched, I get it, but it does happen.
Are you concerned, through you, Mr. Chairman, are you concerned that in some licensing agreement with a developer that the developer would try and assert rights to the data and say that they had exclusivity over utilizing it?
Not exactly through the chair. It's not rights to the data itself, but rights to the code that leads to the search. So I suppose if the code is changed slightly, then it would not be the same code. But just taking it one step forward, I appreciate that you're looking up what you have said.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, we'll look into that, but I would suggest that probably it would be difficult to enter into that agreement when their pre-existing agreement to us would be to surrender the application. So we would not be obligated to probably anything that they sign with a private vendor for their code development.
Right, thank you, and through the chair, I'm more concerned with what the other entity might be doing than versus what we were responsible for. But if we're talking about anything that has to do with information of our citizens, then my point is to ask these questions so that we're safeguarding information and it's being used, and any application that's being used is for the right purpose, not faulting Monroe County or Greece. It's that farther step that perhaps could happen. That's all. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Legislator Brew.
Through the Chair and Administration, I have a couple questions regarding the service itself. The light detection system is, I'm assuming that is a satellite-based system that Monroe County presently subscribes to as a subscriber.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, we purchased this data. We contracted with an entity that did a number of flyover passes over the county and used LiDAR as it would be mounted under a plane typically, and the sensor would achieve highly accurate topographical results for us to do assist in our GIS efforts.
Thank you. And another question through the Chair. I guess I really don't see where the age of the information would be all that relevant to the service provided, but my next question would be, what would be an example of an application from LiDAR being applied to emergency response? Would that be, through the Chair, would that be typically through a emergency response planning effort, or would that be through some sort of a live event?
Through you, Mr. Chair, with respect to the first comment, with regards to the age of the data, LiDAR is a constantly evolving technology, and there may be even a replacement to that down the road, but the LiDAR data that's available today is far more accurate and more precise than data that was available many years ago. So it could potentially be relevant with regards to the age of the data and how old it is. You could have an improved, more highly accurate mapping result by using the most current and accurate data. With regards to your question about, what would it pertain to with regards to some aspects of emergency services, we had the incidents of last year with regards to flooding along Lake Ontario, the ability for us to, LiDAR is a kind of data that's used by FEMA to develop flood maps and use that topographical data to understand where low water points may be, or low points where water may inundate a neighborhood, be able to divert or place resources and sandbags, for instance, to try and mitigate that. Another situation may be the ability to ascertain and have highly accurate information and data with regards to structure height, so that firefighters and fire departments that are responding would know exactly the elevations that they were dealing with when they responded to a call. Things along those lines. Does that answer your question?
Yes. And one more follow-up question. The information that would be provided to the municipalities, would that be in the form of a series of software files or an application program that is used? And say, for example, the town of Greece, would they just receive the mapping of their specific town itself, or would they receive in addition, would they receive, for example, the entire county?
Through the chair, please.
Through the chair.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, with respect to the first part of your question, it is known as point cloud data, which is just raw data. That's what they would use to aggregate the development of their, when they develop their application, it would aggregate that data for whatever purposes that they saw fit. With regard to the second part of your question, they're not restricted specifically to their town, and for instance, for first responder situations that may be helpful with regards to mutual aid. However, it is unlikely that given the file size and the amount of data that a municipality would want to take on a whole lot more than their own community. But there's no specific limitation as to what they want. They can ask for just their town, they can ask for the surrounding towns, they could ask for more of that, but there's no restriction.
Legislator Rockow.
Through the chair to the administration, other than the town of Greece, do the other municipalities know that this service is available to them?
Mr. Chairman, yes.
And how do they go about starting the process of requesting that information or requesting that service?
Through the chair, please.
Through the chair.
Through the chair, they can contact the Department of Environmental Services.
Thank you.
Legislator Wilcox.
Through the chair to the administration, the example of public safety was used in this particular referral. I was wondering if there were any other examples conveyed to you by the town of Greece regarding what applications they may use this for.
Through the chair, the town is interested in flooding information and lake level information.
Okay, and is that the only application that they've expressed to you through the chair?
Okay. Through the chair, that's the only example they've given at the time, but we gave the public safety example because it's similar for the following referral.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Seeing no other questions, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Item carries. Mr. Clerk.
Referral 18-0284.
Moved by Legislator Rockow, seconded by Legislator Brew. Is there any discussion? Legislator Cayley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the administration, I would just repeat, probably narrow down the question that I asked on the first one. I forgot which one we knocked out. Which one did we knock out? This one. Yes. Again, it was the same thing. The responsibility of the entity to share the application and whether or not, you answered that it was not reciprocal through the chair. I think I already said that. And then whether or not they can, I forgot how to word it. Whether or not they can enter into another agreement with another municipality. This is the other thing I thought of. They're now in possession of the information. Would anyone that wanted this information, again through the chair because I'm running on, have to come through Monroe County? Just totally lost the question. with a third. This one's more important. This one's more important.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, there wouldn't be a specific restriction, I suppose, because we're already sharing it with a number of entities as it exists now through our mutual operations at 911 and also public safety relationships with New York State. So there's also, there already exists other entities that have access to this information. So theoretically, no. But I mean, I would say that if you're looking for the most accurate and up to date, to go back to a question that Legislator Brew asked, we would be the source for. We're the ones that are paying for and doing the LiDAR flyover. So you probably want to come to us.
Thank you. And then just additionally, with regards to this, or backing up to the previous one, when you say that we would be the source of the most current information, how often is that information updated?
Through the chair, please.
I thought I did, but I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Through you, Mr.
I
Chairman.
can forgive it.
Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, daily. We're constantly making refinements to the data, to the data sets, and improving the accuracy of it. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're flying over on a daily basis, but we're constantly refining and updating the data package so that it is the most up-to-date and accurate as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Item carries. Mr. Clerk.
Referral 180285, authorizing.
Moved by Legislator Brew, seconded by Legislator Rockow. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Are there any other matters to come before this committee? There being no other matters, the October 23rd, 2018 meeting of the Intergovernmental Relations Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting of the Intergovernmental Relations Committee will be held on Tuesday, November 27th, 2018 at 5 p.m.